Okay, so let's start this set review. Silver Tempest coming out November 11th, combining Incandescent Arcana and Paradigm Trigger. It also includes some cards cut from Lost Origins. So here's what we're going to do for this set, guys. This is a set review in relation to playing the trading card game. So if a card's bulk, I might not spend too much time discussing why it's bulk. If a card has any sort of interest, I will discuss it. So I don't want to make this like an hour plus long review, and I think it will be if I read every single card, but I already know so many of these cards are just not relevant to competitive gameplay, and we're looking at this set strictly for competitive standard format. So let's get into it. We're starting out with Venonat and Venomoth, which are bulk. We got Spinarak and Ariados. Ariados has the ability String of Shade. As long as this Pokemon's in play, the attacks of your opponent's Pokemon VSTAR cost one colorless more. It's interesting for sure. It's a stage 1 that says your opponent's VSTAR's attacks cost one more. So, Giratina's Lost Impact would cost a 4th energy. Trinity Nova would cost a 4th energy. Palkia's Subspace Swell would cost a 3rd energy. These are all pretty substantial, but it means that you have to get a stage 1 established. So you have to bench Spinarak, and you foretell your opponent that, hey, an Ariados is coming down next turn. So they can knock out the Spinarak. You know, they can just boss knock out. And the decks in question, Arceus, Tina, and Palkia, you know, the 3 big V-stars that would be affected by this. Palkia can just pop it with Radiant Greninja. Tina has Cramorants and Sableye. And then, Arceus can just Starburst for boss energy KO, the Spinarak, right? Oh, hey, Twitchymon. Yeah, there's also Hisuian Zoroark V-Star. That it would definitely hurt Hisuian Zoroark V-Star. Probably the most, because that's not a deck that can just go fetch a boss's orders whenever it needs it. So maybe it would hurt that the most. But like if I want to counter Hisuian Zoroark V-Star, I'm just tossing a Miltank into my deck and winning. Oh, could you play it in Zoroark box? You could. I mean, obviously, yes, you could. But I feel like you'd always rather have that slot be just another Pokemon that can Oko something. So I'm going to say this is just bad and we'll never, ever, ever see competitive play. Let's see if I'm wrong about that. Universe, thank you for this sub at tier 1. Thank you, thank you. Yo, what's up, Cash? Going on to Sunkern and Sunflora. Sunflora, 10 damage. You may discard up to 3 energy from your hand. It does 70 more. Okay, so it can do 220. Not good. Serperior V and Serperior V Star. Serperior V, like many of the pre-evolution of Roblox Pokemon, Serperior V is pretty insignificant. Just another bulk ultra rare that we can pull. But Serperior V Star... Serperior V-Star has something to work with here. So Royal Tornado does 190 and you move any amount of energy from your Pokemon to your other Pokemon in any way you like. So this can go a couple ways. We can move the energies off of Serperior if we think it's getting knocked out next turn, or we can preemptively move those energies off so that we can Cheryl the Serperior V-Star next turn. We can also move energy onto Serperior V-Star if we want its Coiling Star power attack to do more damage next turn. So Coiling Star does 60 damage for each energy attached to this Pokemon, and then you switch this with one of your benched Pokemon. So that could allow you to, you know, swing 190, knock something out, and move energy from one of your benched Pokemon up to Serperior, and then next turn just do Coiling Star for a bunch of damage. So Serperior V-Star, it's like a 2 out of 5, maybe 1.5 out of 5. Like, it could function. If you really like this card, if you want to build a grass deck, if you happen to pull it and you want to build a deck around it, I'm sure the deck could function. The deck can win games, but I don't see any reason to play Serperior V-Star instead of, you know, any of the other, like, 20 better decks in the format. Petal, Lilligant, Ungus Amungus. This ability is just so specific. Durant, Virizion, Chestnut V. Chestnut V is actually so bad too. Like, okay, bulky 230 HP. We can slap a Cape of Toughness on that, make it 280, right? And then its ability, Spiky Striker, as long as this Pokemon's in play. Whenever your active Chestnut V is damaged by an attack, you put 3 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon. So the way this is worded, if you have 4 Chestnut Vs down, this will proc for all 4 when it gets hit, and you'll do 12 damage counters to the attacking Pokemon. And then it has a touchdown attack that does 130 and heal 30. It's just so mediocre. Like, this is cool, but it needed more. Like, this needed like another attack and another ability and better retreat cost to maybe be functional. Like, they have good ideas, and then they just don't give the Pokemon enough oomph. So this is like a 0 out of 5, just absolutely garbage. Radiant Serena, you can heal 20 damage from each of your Pokemon once a turn, and with Scoop Up Net you could actually do this twice. You could play this down, use Elegant Treatment, heal 20 from everything, Scoop Up Net, play it back down, heal 20 from everything, just like we reuse Concealed Cards with Greninja. So if there was a spread deck, you know, that's spreading 40 damage at a time, or, you know, healing 20 or 40 or 60 damage would be relevant, then maybe Radiant Serena could be relevant because of that. But probably just a cute card that's going to be outclassed by the other Radiants most of the time. So it's like a 1.5 out of 5. Next we have Vulpix and Ninetales, Bulk, Growlithe, and Arcanine. It does 200 damage if the defending is a V Pokemon, but it costs Fire colorless, not Fire double colorless, so bad Bulk. Rapidash Heat Boost ability. Once during your turn, you may discard a Fire energy from your hand. If you do, until the end of your turn, attacks of your Fire Pokemon do 30 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. So this is a good ability, but it's on a stage 1 for a type that doesn't have like a Pokemon that's 30 damage away from being meta. So I'm pretty sure this is just Bulk for now, but this could be a very good card, you know, next format or even a format after, you know, in a different metagame with different cards available in the card pool after Scarlet and Violet and the game changes a little bit. So this could have potential one day, but for now it's just not doing anything in the current standard format. So it's like probably like a 1 to 2 out of 5 card, but just in this current meta it's absolutely unplayable. Victini, Reshiram. Reshiram can search your deck for up to 2 basic energies and attach them to your Pokemon in play. That's good. And then White Blaze 200 if Tails, it can't attack next turn. Like, even if this part's not there, this attack just is like so meh. But the saving grace about Reshiram is that it can search your deck for 2 basic energy of any type and attach them to one of your Pokemon. So like, it's a pretty good starter if you are playing Fire and you need a Fire basic attacker or whatever. But this is so plain. It's so plain. It doesn't really do anything that puts it above any other Fire Pokemon. So this is just like, I'm not even going to give it a rating. Poor little Reshiram. Maybe one day. Fennekin, Breaks, and Delphox. This is just gimmicky Bulk. Gimmicky Bulk. Bulky gimmicks. Incineroar. All bad. Okay, Alolan Vulpix V and Alolan Vulpix VSTAR. So, Alolan Vulpix V has the Snow White drop attack for free. It does 10 plus 50 if the defending is a V, so it can do 60 for free. That's a nice little poke, but never the reason you're going to play this line. The Alolan Vulpix VSTAR has 240 HP water type, and it has 2 attacks. The first being the Snow Mirage, 160, and it goes through effects like Miltank, like anything that's reducing damage like Goodra, it goes through effects like that. And then during your opponent's next turn, prevent all damage done to this Pokemon from Pokemon with abilities. So Pokemon with abilities, we got Palkia V-Star. We got Arceus V-Star. Excuse me. What else do we have? We have Zoroark V-Star. Lots of V-Stars that are good also have abilities. And so this would prevent the damage done by those. But there's also Pokemon in the meta that don't have abilities, like Mew VMAX, like Duraludon VMAX that does have an ability but will go through because it has a shred effect. So, it's okay. It's fine, but the Pokemon also only has 240 HP, which is super duper low for a V-Star. So it's not that bulky outside of having this damage protection from Pokemon with abilities, but that's also pretty easy to get around because Path of the Peak, you can use Path of the Peak to shut off your own abilities and then swing into the Vulpix. You can also have a shred attack like Duraludon VMAXs. You can also just rope and boss, or just rope, or just switch into a Pokemon doesn't have an ability. So this is fine for its shred. This is like an added plus that maybe sometimes, if you're lucky, can help maybe a little bit. And then it has the Silver Snowstar V-Star power attack for free, 70x damage. This attack does 70 damage times the number of your opponent's Pokemon V. So this is actually really good. It's free, and it can just pop something if they have a lot of V Pokemon. Like Palkia Kyurem will play a lot of V Pokemon down. Mew VMAX Genesect will play a lot of V Pokemon down. Something like Arceus Giratina will play a lot of V Pokemon down. Lugia will play a lot of V Pokemon down because it's probably using Crobats and Luminions and stuff for extra support, as well as the Lugias. So Silver Snowstar actually does a lot of power, and it's the best thing about this Alolan Vulpix, I think. Path would not get through Vulpix V-Star. During your opponent's next turn, prevent all damage done to this Pokemon from Pokemon with abilities. So if they played down an ability, if they played down a Path, their Pokemon wouldn't have abilities anymore, and they could attack this, and the damage will go through, if I am correct. But somebody can, if there's a ruling on that says otherwise, please let me know. But I'm pretty sure that's how it goes. And also, guys, just keep in mind, if I seem harsh on these cards, it's because I am. I'm being critical. This is a critical analysis of the cards in a competitive format environment. This doesn't mean if you pull the card and you like it, you can't put it in your deck. It means I'm saying it probably won't be successful if that's what I said. But also, like a card like Vulpix, I'm telling you, this does actually have potential because this is a good card with some good attributes. It's not amazing, but it's fine. Okay. SMCKBK said that I need to look at this again. This looks awful. Okay, moving on. Omastar V. Water basic Pokemon V, 190. Just a warning, guys. There's a lot of there's going to be a lot of bulk in this set. This is not a very there's not a lot of quantity of competitive cards in this set, but there are some competitive cards that are very good, just not in high quantities. So if you are strictly a player, you don't collect, you don't care about how pretty cards look at all, then probably just stick to singles for this set IMO. But most of the population that actually buys cards don't give a crap about how they are in the game, so the set will still sell well, like all sets do. Okay. Ancient Guidance, search your deck for 2 cards that evolve from a fossil and put them onto your bench. The issue with this is it's getting things like Archon, which evolves from unidentified fossil. It's not getting things like Archeops, okay? So you're getting the stage 1 of the fossil Pokemon. You're not even getting the full fossil Pokemon out, and you're leaving a super weak V Pokemon in the active that just did no damage. And its other attack is 110. During your opponent's next turn, the defending evolution Pokemon can't attack. This is pretty bad because they can just switch or like attack with basic Pokemon and not evolve if you're trying to do something with Omastar V. This thing's like a -4 out of 5. I mean, this Wailord might be scary. Oh god, yeah, this Wailord's super scary in Gym Leader Challenge format, I think. 30 less damage from attacks, and if you have a special energy on it, it does 240. Like, who needed the Wailord to do that much damage? But it's still irrelevant in Standard, so this is just like an absolute beast in GLC, and that's it. It's literally just here to add another chunky Wailord to GLC. And if you don't know what GLC is, I have a video on my channel under the Become a Master playlist that explains the 3 most popular formats of the Pokemon trading card game. Check it out. Let's see. Bad. Okay, well, this Keldeo can do 220 damage if you have Cobalion, Terrakion, and Virizion on your bench, so that's awful. Dewpider, Araquanid. This is not good. Actually, hang on a second. This Raichu goes in Zoroark stage 1s against Palkia. This Palkia is going to pop their ability, right? If they don't pop their ability, they don't get to use Greninja. Okay, great. And then if they do pop their ability, we get to attack with Raichu. So I think that this might be worth a spot in the Zoroark stage 1s deck, which isn't even a competitive deck right now. But people still play it. So yeah, that could work because it takes a clean 1-hit knockout on Palkia. Chinchou, Lantern, Rotom, Emolga, Stunfisk. Okay, we got Regieleki V and VMAX now. So Regieleki V has Switch Bolt, Swing 30, and Switch, similar to Hisuian Zoroark V, which has that same attack, except that one attacks for free. So this costs a lightning, but that's fine, and you could switch into a Diancie with Princess's Curtain, which says that your opponent can't boss your basic Pokemon, essentially. And then it has Lightning Wall 100, and then you take 100 less damage from attacks. I've seen Japanese lists that are like trying to focus on Regieleki V as the attacker, so you use Lightning Wall with a bench of 2 or 3 Regielekis, so you're doing Lightning Wall for like 160 or 190 a turn. And then you take 100 less damage from attacks. And if they like try to go rope boss, they can't because you play Diancies. So interesting card, and the Regieleki V has like an interesting enough attack with Lightning Wall to mention it on its own without the VMAX. Now the VMAX is probably just going to be played as a damage buff, right? Because like Max Thunderstrike 220. That's fine. It has free retreat, so we can switch out because it can't attack next turn, but it's really here to buff basic lightning Pokemon, make them do 30 more damage. So this is probably just going to be played with Vikavolt V for now. That's the main consensus about Regieleki VMAX. So Regieleki VMAX, it's like a 3 out of 5 card. Did I not rate the last card we looked at? What was the last card? Alolan Vulpix VSTAR. This is probably like a 2.5 out of 5. We'll say Regieleki VMAX and V are a 3 out of 5 together. Radiant Alakazam. Radiant Alakazam has the Spoonful of Pain. Once during your turn, you may move up to 2 damage from one of your opponent's Pokemon to another of their Pokemon. This is good for a deck that's doing excess damage over the course of like 2 turns. So like, let's say, for example, Trinity Nova is doing 180 and then 180 again, but the Pokemon has 280 HP, so like you're wasting so much damage by doing 180 and 180. So you do the first 180, comes back to you, and then you move 2 damage counters from them to a different Pokemon on the bench to get more damage in for later. You can also repeat this with Scoop Up Nets, which would be very, very cool. And Mind Ruler, 20x damage. This attack does 20 damage for each card in your opponent's hand. Palkia, Inteleon, and Lost Zone box decks get pretty large hands, so Mind Ruler could even be an attack that you use. Aside, but of course you would put it in the deck for Spoonful of Pain, but you could also use the Mind Ruler attack as well. So Radiant Alakazam, I'm gonna say it's a 2 out of 5. Very niche, but it fits its niche well. Like, this could be something that makes a strategy work that wouldn't work otherwise. So it's not bad, it's just very, very specific. So 2 out of 5. This Jinx is worth mentioning at the very least. So if this Pokemon is knocked out by damage from your opponent's Pokemon V's attack, your opponent doesn't take a prize card, and then Psy damage does 10 damage plus 10 more for each damage counter on your opponent's active Pokemon. So it's not giving up a prize card whenever a Pokemon V knocks it out with damage, specifically with damage, not damage counters or effects or anything. And psi damage can essentially, it's like it's compounding the damage counter. So like if you did 130 plus that, so if you do 140 to something, then this will do 150 to it again, so then a total of 290. Just kind of thinking for like 280 HP V-Star Pokemon, so not bad, and it doesn't give up a prize card. So really going to depend on, is there a deck that this fits in, a deck that, like, you know, is there a matchup where the opponents don't play a lot of gusting effects and you want to try to make them go through these jinxes. The issue is, if that's your strategy, I think Miltank is just always better, because they're not going to take a prize with Miltank because they can't knock it out. So I think Miltank might just end up being the better jinx. Mischievous, Mismagius, Unknown V. Unknown V has the victory symbol. If you have only one prize card left when using this attack, you win. So if there was ever a specific, again, this is very niche, if there's a deck you have that has trouble taking the final prize card, and it would be easier to put 3 energy on an Unknown V and announce victory symbol, then Unknown V would fit into that hypothetical deck. Other than that, bad card. Unknown V-Star. Tri-power, horrible. I do not want to be evolving just to flip coins to hope to do damage. And then Star Cipher V-Star power. Until this Pokemon leaves play, gains an ability that has the effect all of your opponent's Pokemon's weakness is now psychic. The problem is this thing has 250 HP. It could just get popped next turn right after it uses Star Cipher. That's not to say that this couldn't work, but I do not think it would be reliable or smart, or like there's better things to play. But this is a very cool mechanic. It's just overall the card doesn't get there in my opinion. So this is like a 1 out of 5, and it gets the 1 for cool factor. Kirlia has what has been known as trade. Discard a card from your hand to draw 2 cards. And Gardevoir also has this. Discard a card from your hand to draw 2 cards. So what's special about this is we can evolve Kirlia, use Refine, discard a card, draw 2 cards. Next turn, we can use Refine, discard a card, draw 2 cards, and then evolve the Gardevoir and use the Gardevoir's Refine to discard a card, draw 2 cards. So it's almost like getting double value on the turns where you can evolve the Kirlia. And then we can just scoop up, net it, evolve it onto a new Ralts, do that again. It could essentially be like Inteleon, except scoop up net is going to be rotated out very, very soon. And so I think this would have been abused by Scoop Up Net, and so maybe it could just be like a fair, decent card that some decks want to use without Scoop Up Net around. Then we have Mawile V. The Mawile V doesn't really do much. And then we have Mawile V-Star, which, if I'm being honest, also doesn't do much. Sudden Eater does 180 if this Pokemon moved from your bench to the active this turn. And then the ability Star Rondo, if Mawile V-Star is on your bench, you get to put it into the active and then choose one of your opponent's benched Pokemon and bring it up. So it's like a Guzma ability only for Mawile V-Star, and then, oh boy, we get to do 180, or if we're attacking with a double turbo, 160. So this card is just like severely underpowered and not very good. Give it like a 1.5 out of 5 because of the Star Rondo V-Star power. Okay, and then we have Meta Knight Metacham. Eager Kick does 170, and it can be potentially used for free. And it also has to potentially do the 170 because your opponent has to have a VMAX Pokemon in play, and VMAX Pokemon are more scarce than ever. And the only VMAX Pokemon I can think of that is currently played at all that is weak to Psychic is Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX, and that has consistently had like percentages of a percent meta shares at major events. So this has zero relevancy in my opinion. Sorry, my eye itches. I don't know what's going on. Got some dust in it or something probably. Okay, let's read this Sigilyph's warning attack. Search your deck for a basic and put it on your bench, then shuffle your deck. If the opponent's active Pokemon is a Pokemon V, you may instead search for up to 5 basic Pokemon. I'd say if this said rule box, then this had some potential in the long run, but it says Pokemon V, and Pokemon V will be a defunct mechanic eventually, and this is just suffering last set of the block syndrome, and it's bad. Solosis, Duosion, Reuniclus. If this is knocked out by damage from an attack your opponent's Pokemon, put it in your hand instead of your discard, and then its attack does Cell Fork 60, and choose 2 of your opponent's bench Pokemon and put 3 damage counters on each of them. I guess the big deal here is you get the Pokemon back, but you don't even get the energy back, and you do 60 damage at a time and then 2 spreads of 3 damage counters. That's this could be interesting for Gym Leader Challenge maybe, since you get the Pokemon back, but other than that it is awful. Moving along here, when you evolve this Pokemon, you may search your deck for up to 2 supporters and put them into your hand. That's interesting. It's a single prize Pokemon. It is level ballable on both accounts. That's super interesting. Yeah, this card could see play at some point. Swirlix, Slurpuff, Dedenne, Indeedee. If you go first, you can use this attack on your first turn. Search your deck for any 1 card. This could be played after Marnie rotates, maybe, as like a one-of, especially if you have a deck that has like all free retreat Pokemon and stuff. Didn't the Delcatty get supporters from the discard? That's what I was trying to think about that actually before you said it. Like, I wanted to compare it to Delcatty, but I wasn't sure if Delcatty was discard or deck. Or maybe if there was a Delcatty that did both. Or maybe there was a different Pokemon that did discard if Delcatty did deck. But I do remember there being a Delcatty that had something to do with supporters. Dreepy, Dracloak, Dragapult. Okay, let's read this. Dragon Launcher. We'll read this for the memes. You may discard any number of your benched Dreepy up to the number of your opponent's Pokemon in play. For each Dreepy discarded, choose one of your opponent's Pokemon. This attack does 100 damage to each Pokemon chosen in this way. Okay, moving on. Hisuian Arcanine V. As often as you like during your turn, you may move a fighting energy from one of your Pokemon to this Pokemon. It has 230 HP. Rock Bullet does 90 plus 30 more for each fighting energy attached to this Pokemon. So if you have 4 energy attached, because this attack costs 4 energy, and they're all fighting, you'll do 210 damage. That is not impressive for 4 energy. And they have to be all fighting energy. Maybe if this ability had like almost 2 abilities, if it's like you can move fighting energy whenever you want and it takes like 10 or 20 less damage for each fighting energy attached to it, then this Arcanine would have something going for it. But right now it's just like, why are you here? Which is unfortunately the case with a lot of V Pokemon. Wow, we have a lot of silence here. Ursaluna V. Ability Hard Coat takes 30 less damage. Peach Shoulder 220 and does 10 less damage for each damage counter on this Pokemon. These Pokemon card gym promos are almost always like negative bulk, and this is not an exception. Golbat, okay, hang on a second. Golbat has Critical Bite. This attack does 30 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. If any of your opponent's Pokemon were knocked out by damage from this attack, take 2 more prize cards. Very interesting. Very interesting. Bad for standard format. I do declare. Okay, so this skuntank is actually has a super cool attack. It's awful. Don't get excited. It's awful. But it has a super cool attack. Homing Bomb. I don't think I've ever seen a card in Pokemon history with this mechanic. This attack does 30 damage to one of your opponent's benched Pokemon. If that Pokemon retreated during your opponent's last turn, this attack does 120 damage instead. So it actually tracks which Pokemon did your opponent retreat last turn, and if you hit that Pokemon that retreated last turn, you get to do extra damage. Now, that being said, this is too conditional. We would never put it in our deck because you have to rely on your opponent specifically retreating a Pokemon that has 120 or less damage left on it at the right time, and then you have to use the Skuntank at that specific time. It's a mess. But it's a very cool mechanic, and if they could make these kind of mechanics more often and then give them a little bit of oomph, then that would be great. Okay, wow. This is like, coming from Magic, this is like a Battle Cry death, like Battle Cry and then on death effect as well. So when you play this Pokemon from Battle Cry is Hearthstone, but ETB and then ETG, when it enters the battlefield, enters the graveyard. When you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, and when this Pokemon is your active and is knocked out by damage, you may discard a random card from your opponent's hand. Again, I like where they're going with the mechanic, but it's a bad card. Like, you're never going to put this in a standard format deck because it's a stage 2. Its attack does nothing that's synergistic with its ability, and the ability isn't even that good. But I like that they are showing signs of at least being able to put these kinds of things out. They just don't want to make the complex cards too strong, which I understand. They want to keep it simple, and they wouldn't want a card that's a little bit more complex to be like the #1 deck that people have to play against all the time. But cool mechanic, bad card. Marini and Toxapex, Morpeko, Beldum, Metang, Metagross. Metagross has once during your turn, if you drew this Pokemon from your deck at the beginning of your turn and your bench isn't full, before you put it in your hand, you can put it onto your bench, then draw 3 cards. But Meteor mashes its attack, and it's not good at all. It does 100, and then next turn it does 100 more. So, again, very cool mechanic, just poorly executed on a Stage 2 Pokemon that we'll never see play. Next, we have Radiant Jirachi with the ability Pass-A-Wish. If this Pokemon's knocked out by damage from an opponent's attack, search your deck for up to 3 cards and put them into your hand. So this could see play eventually, whether it's like a hit and run deck or like a stall control mill style deck where you just send things up and you don't care what gets knocked out. I don't see any spot for it in the current standard format, but that doesn't mean it doesn't have potential later on. Also, it has Stellar Doom. For colorless, flip 2 coins if both are heads. Your opponent's active Pokemon is knocked out. Not that great. Like, we have things like Glimwood Tangle, but we're probably not gonna ever rely on needing to hit double heads. It's more of a thing that you would use if like Jirachi was in the deck for Pass-A-Wish and you were just stuck in a situation where you couldn't do anything else. So you're like, okay, yeah, let's see if I flip double heads. It's a 25% chance, right? So this card's really weird. It's super niche. I would call it in current standard format, it's like a 0 out of 5, but it has potential to grow later. We got Clink Clang and Clink Clang. Clink Clang has the ability Triple Gear. When you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon during your turn, you may search your deck for up to 3 basic energy cards and attach them to your Pokemon in any way you like. I saw somebody say if they gave Clang a weaker version of this, like they did with Drizzle and Teleon. So like if they gave Clang the ability Double Gear, like it's literally right there, right? Like, this is called Triple Gear, so just give Clang one that's called Double Gear that searches for 2 basic energies and attaches them to your Pokemon. And then this one does 3. Like, that would be great, but I think it's bad without Clang doing anything useful and without Clink doing anything useful. Cobalion is bad. Togedemaru is bad. Megairna V does have special laser that does 220 for 3 energy if it has a special on it. And that special energy is pretty easy to fulfill. It could be like a V-Guard energy or a capture energy. And the only reason you would play this is if you want to hit metal weakness. Kyurem VMAX is a thing, so maybe you want to do that. We already have Zamazentas that are sometimes played for Kyurem VMAX. Or Aegislash VMAX that's played for Kyurem VMAX. So, like, if you have a deck that's struggling against Kyurem and you already play either special energies or metal energies, then could be fine. And yes, it is the same attack as Necrozma V, which saw very little play. This Dragon Knight is going to be played with the Regidrago, probably, because Regidrago copies dragon attacks from the discard, so you just throw this into the discard, because it's a stage 2. Obviously, we're not going to put this in play, right? So this does 180, search your deck for 3 basic energy, attach them to your Pokemon in any way you like. It's essentially Trinity Nova from Arceus. And you'll copy this with Regidrago. And here's Regidrago. There he is. So Regidrago has the Dragon Dream that gets to choose an attack from a dragon Pokemon in your discard pile and use it as this attack for Grass, Fire. So you can use Lost Impact from Tina, you can use Rolling Iron from Gudra, you can use whatever Duraludon VMAX's attack's called, you can use that Dragonite attack we just looked at that I already forgot the name of. So there's a lot of things you can use with this, but people are comparing this to Mewtwo and Mew Tag Team GX. Mewtwo and Mew Tag Team GX was a broken card that was a basic Pokemon that could copy attacks from the bench or the discard pile, and it was on an ability, so you didn't have to meet a stagnant attack requirement. You could meet the attack requirements of whatever was on the bench or discard. So sometimes that was a good thing, sometimes it was a bad thing. Because you could use cheaper attacks early for cheaper, but then the later attacks cost more. So Regidrago V-Star also has a V-Star power that you discard the top 7 cards of your deck and then get 2 cards from your discard and put them into your hand, which is really good because it doesn't have to be 2 of the 7 cards you discarded. It's just 2 cards from the discard pile in general. So I think the V-Star power is actually pretty darn good for like a utility ability type deal. And the attack is also good. The problem is it has to evolve in order to start using those attacks. You know, it's not just comparing it 1-for-1 with Mewtwo Tag Team GX is going to leave you disappointed in this card. It's pretty good. I'd say it's like a 3.5 out of 5. I expected to see some play, maybe some success. I don't think it's tier 1. I don't think this is going to ever touch tier 1, but it's pretty good. Schmirgle. And here we have Lugia V-Star. Lugia V-Star, I will say, most of you probably already know what it does, and I'm going to tell you objectively, in a vacuum, without knowing the other cards of the set, this card doesn't seem that great, right? It does 220 for 4 energy, and you discard a State in play. Nothing special. The V-Star power, you can put 2 colorless Pokemon from your discard pile, except for rule box Pokemon from bench to discard. Also doesn't seem like that amazing. This card is really nothing without its catalyst, which is Archeops. And because of Archeops, I'm going to say Lugia is like a 4.5 out of 5 card, probably, maybe a 5 out of 5 card. But without Archeops in this set or existing in the standard format alongside of Lugia V-Star, like without something specifically in mind for this ability, the card isn't even that good in a nutshell. But because of Archeops, the card will be very good. Ho-Oh-V Rebirth Flames is cool. If it's in your discard pile, you can put this card onto your bench. If you do, attach up to 4 basic energies from your discard pile to this Pokemon, and then your turn ends. Note that they don't have to be 4 different types of basic energies, just 4 basic energies. So you can play this in any sort of deck and then Thornton it into your main attacker. And then Rainbow Burn does 100 plus damage for 4 colorless energy, and the attack does 30 more damage for each type of basic energy attached to this Pokemon. So it hits 220 for 4 energy if all 4 energy are different basic energy types. And it has the same weakness as the big bad of the set, which is Lugia V-Star. Random account said Ho-Oh can give a huge buff to Darkrai VSTAR. Yeah, turn 1, Ho-Oh the 4 energies onto the bench and just let it sit there with 4 energies on it. Could be okay for Darkrai VSTAR, but then we'd have to ask ourselves, is Darkrai VSTAR really just a Ho-Oh away from being a good deck in the metagame? Maybe. I doubt it. So yeah. Ho-Oh is like cool, niche, might do some things with Thornton, or like somebody in chat mentioned about the Darkrai, but probably not going to see much play. And here we have Archeops, the ability Primal Turbo. Once during your turn, you may search your deck for up to 2 special energy cards and attach them to one of your Pokemon, then shuffle your deck. And remember, Lugia is going to slap 2 of these bad boys onto the board straight out the discard pile, and you can get 4 special energies out of your deck right onto Pokemon. This is an absurd ability, specifically when paired with Lugia. If, again, if we didn't have Lugia, this card would be bulk. And if we didn't have this card, Lugia would be an okay VSTAR. Like, they literally have to be like printed in the same set with each other. They rely on each other for them to be good. Then we have some trainers. Brandon is bad. It's just worse Colress, not Colress's Experiment, OG Colress. It's bad. You have to play it when it's the last card in your hand, and you're relying on you and your opponent both having a lot of benched Pokemon. Bad, 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 bad. Candace, this is... You're never playing this instead of Irida. Never playing it instead of Irida. Capture Aroma. In current standard format, bad. Bad, 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 bad. But... it's flip a coin of heads, search for an evolution. Flip a coin of tails, search for a basic. So, this could be better after Quick Ball. Quick Ball and Level Ball. No, Level Ball isn't rotating at the same time as Quick Ball. But Quick Ball is going to rotate in February or March. So, I don't know. Its Evolution and Sense also rotates in February or March. So there's that. Earthen Seal Stone for 3 energy. So you can attach this to any V Pokemon, and any V Pokemon can use this as their V-Star power as long as you haven't used your V-Star power yet this game. And it gains the attack Star Gravity for 3 colorless. Put damage on all of your opponent's Pokemon V until they each have 100 HP remaining. This just seems like a fun gimmick. I don't think it's competitive. Emergency Jelly is bad. Forest Seal Stone, very, 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 very good. Very, very, very good. Say it with me, chat. Very, very good. Very, very good. Very, very good. I'm not moving past Forest Seal Stone until we get some very, very goods in the chat. Very, very good. Very, very good. Very, 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 very. I think Capture Room was pretty good in current Arc Bib list as a 9th, 10th ball to replace. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Like, I think people are underrating Capture Aroma, I think. Like, this card's going to be played before it rotates IMO, unless Quick Ball just gets a reprint right away in Scarlet Violet. So Forest Seal Stone attaches to one of your Pokemon. You can use it as a V-Star power, and it gains the ability Star Alchemy, which is half a Star Birth. During your turn, you may search your deck for any one card and put it into your hand. Guys, the Pokemon V, right? So if you get this in your opening hand and you're playing Mew VMAX Genesect, you start with a Genesect in the active, you attach this, and you flip your V-Star power and go grab your Battle Pass on turn 1. Or you... like, what? Yeah, this is good. Also good for Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX, you know, again, niche deck. Also could be good for Vikavolt Regieleki VMAX, because that doesn't have a V-Star power if you're not using Drapion. So very, very, very good. Very, 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 very good. Furisode Girl, search your deck for a basic and bench it, and then switch. Very niche. It's not awful, but it's very niche. Gym Trainer, draw 2 cards, and if one of your Pokemon were knocked out during your opponent's last turn, draw 2 more cards. Bad. Lance, search your deck for up to 3 Dragon Pokemon and put them into your hand. You better have some darn good Dragon Pokemon if you're going to be playing Lance. As of now, bad. Leafy Camo Poncho, great name. Tool card, if the Pokemon it's attached to is a VSTAR or VMAX, whenever your opponent plays a supporter card from their hand, prevent all effects of that card done to that Pokemon. So it's essentially like Sun Moon Badge, but for all VSTAR VMAX. I don't think it'll do anything relevant in the upcoming Silver Tempest format. No. Lance is into the hand. Lance's search your deck for up to 3 Dragon Pokemon, put them into your hand. If it was to the bench, that could be good. Yeah, the Furisode Girl could be good for Reggie because you could just search for Regidrago and put it directly onto your bench. And put it directly into the active spot. But I think Reggie already has enough good supporters. Primordial Altar. Once a turn, you can look at the top card of your deck, and you can choose to discard the card. At the moment, I don't know what you would play this in that's a decent... Oh, excuse me. I don't know what you would play this in that's like a functioning deck. It's good in Kyurem. I don't know. I don't know if I'd say it's good in Kyurem. And like, if we're at a point where Kyurem's playing Primordial Altar, I don't think Kyurem is, I think Kyurem's probably seen better days if we're at that point. Professor Laventon put up to 3 Pokemon that have Hisuian in their names from your discard into your hand. Probably just bulk. Quadstone, way too much commitment just to heal all of your Pokemon when you could also do that with Charon's Care or Cheryl or, you know, pseudo complete heal with Hyper Pop plus Crystal Cave if you're a Dragon Pokemon, or you have Goodra V-Star's ability that can heal it. So I think there's like, obviously this can heal anything, and those cards that I just mentioned are much more situational. Like taking up 4 card slots in your deck for this and getting them all at the same time is just not it. Serena is probably the single best card in the set. Discard up to 3 cards from your hand and then draw cards until you have 5. Or switch one of your opponent's benched Pokemon V with their active. So you have a draw supporter and a boss's orders, but only for V Pokemon. So you just play 4 of these in some decks and you have like an option card, which is beautiful. Option cards are so good when you can do one or the other, and they're so drastically different things for different situations. Just absolutely invaluable how good that is on a card. 5 out of 5. Fossil, Wallace, Worker, Regenerative Energy, bad. V-Guard Energy. V-Guard Energy, good. The Pokemon this card is attached to takes 30 less damage from the attacks of opponent's Pokemon V. It does not stack, so if you have 2 of these on, only one of them works. But that's fine. It's still a very good card. I'd call this like a 4 out of 5 in the current format, probably, but it immediately gets worse once EX Pokemon come out. Same with Serena. Serena is a 5 out of 5 card, but immediately worse after Scarlet and Violet happens and there's a lot of EX Pokemon around. So that's the full set. The rest is just all arts. So overall, not a very impactful set quantity-wise, but we do get Lugia plus Archeops. We do get Serena. We do get Regidrago V-Star. We get V-Guard Energy, and we also get the Forest Seal Stone. I think those are the big things for the set. So less impactful in terms of how many good cards we're getting, but we are getting some cards and archetypes that are pretty strong. I think Lugia will probably be tier 1. I think Regidrago will probably be tier 2 to 3, and then I'd also say Vikavolt Regieleki VMAX will be tier 3 maybe ish. Like, you know, we'll see some play and they could succeed at events. So Having a few decks added from this set is really nice. Lugia, Archeops, the jury's still out on if it's actually broken, but it's definitely good. And then the other two decks I mentioned they're fine. They're pretty good. So that's my Silver Tempest set review.